We've been acclimating the Rose Anemone for the last 3 hours now. So we're ready to remove the anemone from the bag. We're going to do so by taking the whole bag, though, and putting it down here in a bucket. So one of the things that I probably forgot to mention is quite often these anemones are not, let me rephrase it, quite often these anemones, if happy, sounds funny, but if happy, are firmly attached to the rock and don't readily come unattached. So you may have to be prepared to purchase that rock, depending upon what it is, in addition to the anemone, or at least be prepared to deal with that additional rock. You don't want to try to tear or coax the anemone to come off. You're trying to make it as least stressful as possible. So in this particular situation, we have part of a dead Capricornus coral skeleton that I tried picking off most of the stuff that he wasn't anywhere near away, but I still have that, and I'm going to try to use that to my advantage as an anchor of sorts to help secure the anemone into the tank. So one of the things that we want to do is, before we remove the anemone who's attached firmly and nicely to his rock, is just gently shake everything so that he retracts. As he retracts, he's going to expel water that's within inside him, and the idea being that, again, we minimize water that's transferred, but we increase when he expands. He's going to be taking in new seawater in the tank he's in. So let's go ahead and gently lift him out. Also, by expelling the water, you create a less droopy individual who is less able or less likely to damage himself during the transit out of the water. I believe the left side of the peak in the middle, in the back of the tank, is the most appropriate location. The flow here moves horizontally from left to right just under the surface of the tank. Here he can attach his base, reach up, and spread that oral disc just underneath the surface current. So there's the pair of clowns. I don't know if they've sensed yet or not their new anemone in the tank. And there's the new anemone. That's the Rose Anemone, beautiful rose color. That position works okay for viewing the anemone because obviously it's right up front. I had actually found what I would consider a more secure position with that entire rock turned around the other way, and unfortunately the anemone was facing the back side of the tank, but I think that would have allowed him to more securely extend that column down behind the rock so that he could securely attach his foot.
You can see here over the course of the last couple of hours, he's adjusted himself more to the back side of the tank. So my expectation is that what will happen is he'll begin to move his column or foot down behind this rock, and then he'll open up with his oral disc out this direction and try to catch the flow that's coming off that discharge nozzle. See if I can show this to you here. There's the discharge nozzle, and try to catch that flow off the top of there. So you can see this is the 24th hour. It's been a whole day since the new Rose Anemone has been in the tank. He retreated behind that rock all the way down to its backside, came around the bottom, and then poked out just off to the right side. And of course you can see there to the right side He's tickling and certainly ultimately going to end up stinging that cluster of Colostria fricata, or candy coral, but he's not bothering the hammer coral heads down here. So far, he's looking good. He is sort of doing what I expected, and that is he's elongated his column and probably attached his foot 6 inches or so, if not longer, down behind those rocks, and then elongated himself to the point where the oral disc, the portion with the tentacles, is now just hovering right underneath where the current is moving across the surface. And so at the moment I would say he looks like a happy cowboy. I do believe, though, that we're going to end up having to deal with those corals just off to the side there. These corals back here, because he'll sting them, and you can see how close he is there. This would now be day number 2, and what I suspected or feared has actually come true, and that is the anemone's not in the spot that we put him in. He has moved. Where has he moved to? Interesting enough, clear down to the corner of the tank on the side panel. So the bright lights have just come on now, and so we'll monitor and see where he goes from here. He's actually moved probably 3 inches, probably in the last half hour. So he's on the march, which is what anemones can do. And it's day number 4. The anemone has moved down from the top right corner down to the bottom right corner behind some corals, and has now poked out just about the middle bottom of the tank. So this is day number 6, and the anemone, which was right back inside here, seems to have disappeared. And if we look hard enough in the tank, we'll find him right up here where one of the returns is into the tank. Also notice that he's got those bulb tip things going on again. Clownfish still have not found or discovered the anemone, or are interested. And day number 7, the anemone is still on the move. Actually, the rest of yesterday he moved back down in beside here, and this morning I wasn't able to find him, and then this afternoon or this evening now he's moved back up behind the hammer coral, and again it's my guess that he's aiming back up where he started. This is where he's at the moment. Now, here's one of the concerns, and this is generally the concern of anemones, because they have the ability to move. And since he's on the move, he's going to go right behind that coral, that hammer coral, branching hammer coral, and hopefully it's a quick event, because otherwise he could damage some of that coral. So, with our fingers crossed, we shall continue to monitor him. And of course the clownfish still have yet to really discover the anemone.
Dive back in with us for part number 3 and find out if the clownfish ever do accept the anemone.